We want to talk to you about your school district, and you guys are about to lose some funding.
Yes. So I'm the Trinity Alps Unified School District Superintendent. I work for 5 wonderful people that are publicly elected board members, and I really believe in parent choice in our schools. So we have a community that the entire community is involved in the decisions we make. Since 1908, our district has been receiving funding from the Secure Rural Schools Act that Teddy Roosevelt passed. So in 1908, in 38 states, they created national forests. And Teddy Roosevelt and Congress said, we need to preserve land for the American people. It was a beautiful act so that somebody from LA gets to drive right up to Weaverville, and it's public property. So we're one state, one nation, and we have high alpine lakes. We have a giant lake down in the basin. So we're recreation for a lot of people. But the problem with that is when they created it, is schools are paid for, schools and roads are paid for by taxes. So if the federal government owns 80% of your county, which they do in ours, then the tax money can only be collected off of 20%. But because so many people are coming there, you need safe roads to get there, and you need schools. The Teddy Roosevelt and Congress recognized we will give an allotment of money to 700 counties that are surrounded by national forest lands. So from 1908 until about 2000, that worked out really well. In 2000, because of environmental concerns and Endangered Species Acts, logging almost halted in the forest.
Was the money coming from logging?
So the money was coming from logging. So the schools and the roads would get a % of the logging revenues. So if the trees were in Trinity County and the tree was worth $1,000, the school might get $5 off the tree. Whatever it was an allotment. But when they stopped logging, the funding stopped. So in 2000, Mr. Crapo, Senator Crapo and Senator Wyden, Oregon and Idaho got together and said, let's form the Secure Rural Schools Act of 2000 and let's give allotments to all 700 counties so they could have safe roads and they could have schools. So that was from 2000 until last year, 2024, it's been funded, and they reauthorize it every 3 years. And a lot of people would like it to see it be longer. So last year, it made it through the Senate on a hotline vote where 100% of the senators voted to reauthorize it, and it got stalled at the House. And we all understand, Democrat or Republican, they were all working really hard in the House. There was just a lot going on. So it didn't make it through the 118th Congress. So the 700 counties, which we're one of, we're really nervous. There's 4,400 school districts, there's 700 counties, and to put it in perspective, just in Trinity County, 23% of our road department budget is from Secure Rural Schools. That means they're going to have to lay off probably 30 to 40% of their staff. And that means we're going to have unsafe roads. In my district, it's 5% of our budget, and I have 100 employees, so I'm going to have to lay off 5 employees.
So for schools, like?
Just my school, I'll have to lay off 5 employees. In the county, they're going to have to lay off maybe 30% of their employees. And if you say that's one county, and I'm only part of one county, right? I'm one school district of 10 in our county, and I'm going to have to lay off 5 people. What about the other 4,400 school districts? So thousands of hardworking Americans, patriots in education and road workers are going to be laid off if they don't pass this bill by May of this year.
Now, what's the impact of this on your school if you have to do the layoff?
It's absolutely brutal. So I have to cut 5% of my budget. So what I have to do is work with the CBO and our administrative team, and we have to make some choices we don't want to make. Are we going to cut an after-school program? Are we going to cut a music program? Are we going to cut an art program? Are we going to cut, the after-school program where we serve kids? So what I'll have to do in March, if this doesn't pass, is I'll have to go to the board, and more importantly, our entire community. We're a community school, and say, guys, we got to cut what hurts the least. And those are decisions that is derailing us from focusing on what we're supposed to be focusing on, is educating children. It's going to be really tough choices, and if I'm one of 4,400, there's 4,399 other school districts that has to do the same thing in March. So they still have a short window where they could do it retroactive and pass it in the 119th Congress. And I'm just begging the Speaker to find it in his heart to look at this and see how important it is and say, okay, it didn't make it in the 118th, no hard feelings, sir. Please look at how important this is to rural America.
And how much money is this?
It is $250 million. So as Congressman Lamalfa said, and I love him, he goes, Jamie, this is budget dust. We could get this through. and he tried really hard to get it through. Congressman Huffman, his neighbor, one's a Democrat, one's a Republican, same thing, said we could get this through. And both of them, and so many people in DC tried to get it through, it just got blocked, and we really don't know why. We've never heard a specific reason of why it never got put on the House floor.
On the statewide, are you getting enough support from the state?
Absolutely. Our state cares deeply about our children. People will argue about this philosophy or that philosophy, but the state bends over backwards. I have to tell you that as a superintendent in the poorest county, how blessed I am to have the support I have from the state of California. They care deeply about students. This is a federal issue because that's federal land that we cannot tax. That's not a state issue. If we could collect property taxes, or more importantly, if they would log our forests, we would have the money to run our school. But when you froze logging, you froze the income. So I at all don't think this is a state problem at all. I think it's a federal issue, and we are the United States of America, and it's not just me, it's 38 other states.
And these rural counties everywhere where they have forests are
Yes. So it's where the national forests were created by the 1908 Congress. So they created it. They also created this income saying that they will not be able to do roads. They recognized it in 1908. They will not be able to run schools, and they will not be able to have safe roads unless we give them payments. And so the payments were you would get a portion of the mining or the recreation money or the logging. And by the year 2000, the federal government stopped running the forest like a business. My family and I are very blessed. For $40,000 and up there, we bought 80 acres that are forest that we plan on logging someday. And we've been sitting on it, and I hope my grandchildren can log it. If I don't pay my taxes and those tax dollars go to my school, the state will take my land. I have to pay taxes on my 80 acres. If I don't pay my taxes, they take it. Well, the federal government owns 80% of my county, and they don't want to pay anything. If you look at Trinity County economically, how important it is, yes, we're the most impoverished county. Billions of dollars of water get sent to the Central Valley out of Trinity County. We don't get a dime for that. We have energy that we create on the Trinity Dam. We export 90% of the energy that we create into the WAPA lines, and it goes to the rest of California. We don't get a dime for that. And so we're trying to run on the economy that's doing okay. We have a mill that's absolutely fabulous. We have a hospital that's fabulous. So they help us there, but we don't have the property taxes to run the school the way we want to. And it's simple. Teddy Roosevelt, Panama Canal, 1908. We need to give these schools money, and it's in Montana, it's in Idaho, it's all throughout the country. My story is the exact same as everybody else's.
Now, you mentioned this is an impoverished county, Trinity County.
We're a proud county.
Why is it?
Because our average income is the lowest in the state of California. Our people work very hard, and there's just not high-paying jobs there. We're a mill town. We're a mill town, and we are proud to be a mill town. Right in the center of our town was a mill. If we lost that mill, we'd lose our town. So it's a blue-collar town of very proud people where everybody loves everybody. There's no Democrat, Republican there. People just love each other. And when you have less, you have to work harder. You don't work less, you don't become a victim. When you have less, you have to work harder. All of our people pitch in to make it work.
Did anybody challenge you that why should we have to pay?
So this is unbelievable. We went, my board president and I and our CBO went 7 times to Washington, D.C. Not one person told us no. We met with dozens of senators, U.S. senators. We met with countless House members. Not one, whether it was Freedom Caucus or whether it was Bernie Sanders, everybody we met with said they supported it. We did not have one person say, hey, get over it, we can't afford that. They all supported it. That's why I'm so kind of mind blown right now. It's not through, but I've also learned nothing's over until it's over. So we need to get back to those patriots and say, guys, you missed something. You missed 700 counties. And if you were going to, it's a bipartisan issue, but if you were to talk politics, 84% of those 700 counties voted red. And it made it through the Senate, which was blue at 100% vote, but 100% vote is red and blue. So the Senate said, this is completely bipartisan. It got held up by the Republican House, where 84% of the people that lived in those counties that get that money are read. And I just want to get that message to the speaker. I want it to be bipartisan, but I think it's important that if people elect you, that you look at how it affects them. So that means 84% of those people want secure rural schools. They want safe roads. They want safe schools. I just don't think he's got that message yet.
And in terms of the public education, what's the value of that to your county?
So how do you break the poverty cycle? You know, what child in this country is going to cure a strain of cancer? Is it a kid in a poor county in Arkansas? Is there a kid up in Maine, in very impoverished Maine? We are America. We are the most powerful nation in the world. We should have strong education for each and every child. The solutions, the problems of today are going to be solved by a second grader. And maybe it's that kid in impoverished Arkansas. So if we don't put all of our time and money and be efficient with our money, be efficient, give us what we need and be efficient, that's how we're going to change this world. That's how we're going to promote freedom throughout the world. That's how we're going to make sure that freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, we have to teach our young kids. If we try to get into some situation where we're privatizing education and we're only educating this child because they're from this family and not educating that child because they're from that family, we're dead wrong. We don't know what beautiful minds are in our kindergartens right now. We should be feeding those minds everywhere. Every child should have a high quality education. Public education in America is what will keep America strong. Do I believe in school choice? Absolutely. If parents want to send their child to a religious school or a charter school that focuses, they should absolutely be able to do that. I'm not against that at all. But I think our public schools have to set a standard that every child gets everything they need. And in this situation, the federal government pretty much snubbed rural America by 84% of the voters, and they didn't put it up. So it's so important we get that message to them, because I don't want that first grader in Arkansas not to have the textbook that they need.